I guess the first question is, you've got a long experience in the region in Greece with Calamos Investments. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please respect the speaker and the panel. We want to be able to hear the conversation. Thank you very much indeed. Can you just share your view of the macroeconomic environment and investment landscape in Greece and the region? Be good to have your take on.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me again at the conference. I really appreciate it. I think the view is a lot better than other times that we've spoken about it. If you look at growth in Greece, right now we're looking, at around a 2.3% growth rate, which is almost 3 times more than the rest of Europe. So that's pretty positive, given what's going on. If you look at inflation, it's come down. I think in 2023 we're looking around 4.2. Last year, 2024, we're looking at around 3%. And I think if you look at year to date, it's as low as 2.4% right now. And you compare that to the United States at 2.8 and UK at 2.6, that's pretty good. Unemployment, it's down to around 9%. If we look back 10 years ago, it was mid-20s. So it's come a long way. Is it perfect? No. But there's a lot of promising things, and things like tourism that continues to grow. 2023, I think the number was 31 million. Last year in 2024, it was up to 40 plus million. We'll see what happens this summer, but those are all very, very positive things.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, certainly. What we're seeing, I think, in the last few years is just sustained growth, so pretty robust growth in Greece, and it's set to continue this year and next year. Can you just tell us a bit more about what services and products Calamos Investments is bringing to the region?
Sure. We've had for many years some of our products in terms of our mutual funds. Our global convertible fund has been offered in the region for a long time. More recently, one of our sustainable funds, the one that we did with Giannis Antetokounmpo, where we JV'd that's being offered in the region on a lot of the bank platforms. We're about to embark on a bunch of ETFs that have been very successful in the United States in terms of principal protected stuff that is tied to S&P, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, and Bitcoin, which is something that I think the region will be very thirsty for.
Okay, the Giannis Fund, I remember you talked about that last year when it was just at the very, very start of that relationship, that partnership just getting going. So can you tell us a little bit about what's happened over the past year?
Sure. Well, we launched in the United States, and then we did what we call a UCITS fund, so we can sell it in Europe. We platformed it on the banks. The banks are starting to sell it to people. Unfortunately, the sustainable market has not been as robust as it was in 2021, where it was the largest inflow of any asset class by managers around the world. And it became somewhat politicized. And so that's slowed not just our fund, but most funds in that space. And then you had that coupled by the Max 7 and the S&Ps, which if you weren't invested in some of those, your returns weren't as good as they could have been. But we're in it for the long term. We're long-term investors. And if you look at the space and sustainability, we have a huge transfer of wealth that's happening in the world. You're looking at about $84 trillion that in the next 10 to 15 years are going to be passed down in generations. And when you look at a lot of family offices and whatnot, almost 2/3 of those people are really, really still very interested in sustainable products. So it's really important that we have an offering in it, and I think that's something that's not going away, even though it's cyclical. But we believe in the product. We believe in our managers. I hired managers a couple of years ago. They've been doing this for 25 years, and they've up until last year they were able to beat the S&P every single year in performance. So we're sticking it out, and we're really proud of the product. And we have a great partner with Giannis, and uh, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, just to stick on this point a little bit, because it's interesting. As you say, ESG sustainability is kind of a bit out of vogue at the moment, but as you say, you're in it for the long term. You want to stick with it. I mean, why is that so important to your brand, to Calamos?
Well, it's important to how we feel about the world, and it's important that um, we look at things in a very holistic manner. And just like if you're going to, buy ice cream and you get a basket in 31 flavors, there's different flavors for different folk. So we're not in a position to tell people what to invest in, but we're also in a position to hopefully create best in class in different flavors that they want to invest in. And so it's important for us to have that as part of our lineup.
Okay, thanks to that. So just bringing it back to Greece and the wider region. So it's been a good few years for Greece. We've got this a pro-reform, pro-business government that's in its halfway through its second term, probably going to get a third term, I imagine, when we look at the political landscape and the state of the opposition. Unless something, really radical, I think, changes, there's a good chance New Democracy will be back in for a third term. Greece has benefited a lot from the RRF funds, and there's still some time to go. I mean, that's been something that has really not just kickstarted, but driven investment into many sectors in Greece, particularly energy sector, renewables, tech, and so on. That stops in 2026. So there is a big question about, I guess, what happens after that in terms of the investment that is needed to build infrastructure, modernize infrastructure, both transport infrastructure, energy infrastructure in the region. So, how do you see things, not just in the kind of short term, which is looking, I think, quite good for Greece, but over the medium and long term? Where is the investment going to come from, do you think?
Sure. I think that definitely has helped, but not everybody's using it, and capital goes to where it's treated best. And as long as the environment and the current administration there is doing a great job of improving the environment for investment, they're going to continue to invest in Greece in various different types of areas, not just hospitality, which it's known for. I think it's the entire environment, not just the grants that they're getting from the EU. And I think that's going to continue as long as the economy continues to grow. And unemployment goes down, and they keep some of the talent in Greece. I think it's inevitable that it's going to continue to grow.
Um, it will just, what still needs to be done, do you think? What are the most important things on the agenda? I don't know if I just saw the other day, I mean, it's something the government is addressing, the kind of judicial delays, the backlogs, the courts, and, the government's actually introduced legislation, done quite a few things to try and address this problem, speed things up. But that's one still impediment in terms of the operating environment. Obviously, we still have a lot of closed sectors and other things. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think are the kind of main, biggest improvements that could be made, on the regulatory front, or someone to...
Well, I think you hit it on the head when you talked about the legal system. I think it's come a way, but I think it needs to continue to improve in order to create the environment that is needed to build the confidence for people to invest and continue to invest in Greece. And you still see a lot of juggling in terms of legal matters and having things being done outside of the country in terms of legality, even though the investment at the end of the day might be in Greece, for the very reason that some of the laws are very antiquated and not pro-business. And that's going to take a while, but it's definitely something that needs to continue to improve, and is not, it's nowhere near, what UK and of course the United States is at. So that's definitely a big thing, and it's the country is still somewhat bureaucratic, and although it's getting better, that's something that over time, as more people come in, as more investments are made from the diaspora, I think it's going to improve. We're seeing it improve. It just has some way to go.
Okay, final question, just taking the lens a bit wider. It'd be nice to get your take on how you see the outlook for the global economy, for the US economy. Everybody would be interested to hear your views on that, I think.
Well, we've had some extreme volatility the last few months, but I think what some of the media is maybe not focusing is there's so many opportunities for upside in this economy. I think a lot of the bad stuff has gone through the wayside. And if you look at the markets and how they've reacted, where the S&P is doing better than it did, at the beginning of the year. We will. I think there's too many good things every time we do a deal in terms of tariffs. You're going to see the markets roar. You're going to see the markets roar if and when we pass, or the administration passes, the tax reforms. People underestimate oil at lower prices, what that does for the economy, which is huge help. Everything is based on oil. Price of eggs at the supermarket has to do with where oil is, and you've seen it continue to not just by the opening up the spigots, as the administration says, in the United States, but the potential deals with Iran and whatnot, as we saw the oil just drop because of that. So that's something people need to look at. Cutting cost, with Doge. Well, let's see how much they cut. But that's something that's another really positive thing. We haven't talked about Fed rates. Once they start cutting, that's going to be very positive.
How many cuts would you expect?
Well, I think we're overdue. And I think it's a bit political on the stance between the Fed governor and the president, but it will happen. And when you see the 10 years go down to, under 4%, it's a magic number, especially for housing. You see mortgage rates and 30-year mortgages go down to 6%. And when it hit that about a month ago for a day or two, applications went through the moon. Record applications, and the housing market is huge. And if you get that stimulated, that's another big plus for the economy. Deregulation takes time, but that's another big thing that'll stimulate the economy. So as I think that we are positioned for a huge rally by the end of the year in this economy in the United States.
So
which will help
no recession for you?
I don't see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, John, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks very much for joining us today and answering these questions.
Thank you.